I hope this story makes you smile. Main story. The first time I saw my own engagement invitation, I was standing under a crystal chandelier big enough to crush a car. The paper was heavy, ivory-colored, and edged in gold. It looked expensive enough that normal people would feel guilty throwing it away. At the top was the crest of the Hale family, all sharp lines and fake nobility. Beneath that, written in elegant black script, were two names: Timothy Zahn and Vanessa Hale. For 3 full seconds, I just stared at it. Then I laughed. It was not the kind of laugh that came from amusement. It was the kind of laugh that came when the world had become so impossibly stupid that anger needed a second to catch up. Because I was already married. And the woman I was married to was not Vanessa Hale. My wife was named Avery Sinclair. She was the only daughter of the Sinclair family, a woman who looked like she had stepped out of a perfume commercial and fought like she had been raised in an underground cage. She had a smile that could melt frost off glass, and a right hook that had once put a professional kickboxer on his back during a charity sparring match. She was sweet when she wanted to be. Unfortunately for everyone in that banquet hall, people rarely gave her a reason to stay sweet for long. I lifted the invitation and looked across the ballroom. My father stood near the stage, wearing the same stiff, self-important expression he always wore when he was pretending to be a man of vision. My mother stood beside him, smiling nervously as she greeted guests like she was welcoming them to something joyful instead of something criminal. My younger sister, Mia, held a glass of champagne in one hand and avoided my eyes entirely. And there, standing beneath an arch of white roses, was Vanessa Hale. She wore a silver gown that sparkled every time she moved. Her hair was pinned up with diamonds. Her lips were painted deep red. She looked like a bride rehearsing the expression she would wear when everyone applauded her. When she saw me staring, she smiled. That smile told me everything. She knew. She knew I had not agreed to this. She knew I had not proposed. She knew I had not even been told. Yet she lifted her hand and gave me a tiny wave, as if we were lovers sharing a secret across a crowded room. A waiter passed by with a tray of champagne flutes. I set the invitation down on the tray so calmly that the poor man looked confused. Then I walked toward the stage. Every step I took reminded me of something. The first was my father telling me last week that he needed me to attend a business banquet. He said the Hale family was investing in our logistics subsidiary and that my presence would show goodwill. The second was my mother calling me that morning, her voice soft and trembling, asking me to wear a dark suit because tonight was important. The third was Mia texting me not to bring Avery. At the time, I thought she was just being petty. Now I understood. They were not afraid my wife would make things awkward. They were afraid she would make things honest. My father noticed me approaching, and his expression shifted slightly. The corners of his mouth tightened. He looked annoyed, as if I were the unreasonable one for interrupting my own forced engagement party. "Earl," he said in a low voice when I reached him, "not here." I glanced at the enormous banner behind him. "Congratulations to Timothy Zahn and Vanessa Hale." Then I looked back at him. "Not here?" I asked. "This seems like the perfect place." My mother rushed over, her smile still frozen in place for the guests. "Earl, please, there are reporters here. Don't make a scene." I almost admired the audacity. They had filled a ballroom with investors, family friends, business partners, reporters, and half the city's gossip network. They had printed fake engagement invitations. They had decorated a stage. They had put my name beside another woman's. And now they were worried that I might make a scene. I leaned closer to my mother and asked quietly, "Where is my wife?" Her face turned pale. My father snapped, "Enough." That one word landed like a whip. When I was a child, that tone used to make me shrink. It used to make me lower my head, swallow my anger, and tell myself that maybe if I behaved better, they would finally treat me like their son. But I was not a child anymore, and I had long since stopped begging people to love me. I turned toward him and smiled. "No, Dad, I think we passed enough about 3 flower arrangements ago." His eyes darkened. "You will control yourself. I'm doing a wonderful job so far." "Earl," my mother whispered, gripping my arm, "listen to me, just get through tonight. Vanessa is a good girl. This is good for the family. You can explain things to Avery afterward." For a moment, I actually thought I had misheard her. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. Then I slowly removed it. "You want me to explain to my wife," I said, each word very clear, "that my family accidentally announced my engagement to another woman in front of 300 people. My mother's eyes filled with tears on command. That was one of her greatest talents. My mother could cry faster than most people could blink. When I was younger, those tears worked on me. They made me feel guilty even when I had done nothing wrong. Now they only made me tired. "You don't understand," she said. "The Zahn Group is in trouble. Your father has been under terrible pressure. The Hale family can save us." "So sell a warehouse," I said, "not me." My father's face flushed red. "You ungrateful brat." There it was. The real him. The guests closest to the stage had started whispering. Several phones had already appeared, held low and angled toward us. The reporters were pretending not to listen while leaning several inches closer. Vanessa chose that moment to glide over. She moved slowly, gracefully, like she was entering a scene written for her. Her hand reached for my arm as if touching me was already her right. I stepped back before her fingers could land. Her smile stiffened. "Earl," she said softly, "I know this is sudden, but our families have discussed everything. Tonight is only an announcement. We don't need to register the marriage immediately." I stared at her. Her voice was gentle, her eyes were bright, her posture was perfect. If I had not known better, I might have thought she was innocent. But I did know better. Vanessa Hale had been following my life like a debt collector for years. We met in college, not dated, not flirted, met once. She had been a guest speaker at a business club event. I had asked one question about logistics automation, and she had laughed like I had proposed marriage. After that, she began appearing everywhere, at networking dinners, at charity events, outside my office, in private investor meetings she had no reason to attend. At first, I thought she was just persistent. Then came the gifts. Then the rumors. Then the fake articles calling us a power couple in the making. Then the anonymous messages sent to Avery, warning her that I had unfinished obligations. Avery had laughed when she read those. I had not. Because I knew obsession when I saw it. I had grown up in a family where love was just another word for ownership. Vanessa tilted her head. "You're embarrassing your parents." I gave her a cold smile. "Good." Her eyes flickered. My father stepped forward, apologized to Vanessa. "No." The word was not loud, but it cut cleanly through the noise around us. My father stared at me like I had slapped him. Maybe I should have. He pointed a shaking finger at my chest. "Do you have any idea what this alliance means? Do you have any idea how much money is on the table?" I looked at Vanessa. "Apparently enough for all of you to forget I'm married." Vanessa's expression changed. Only for a second. The sweet mask slipped, and beneath it I saw the sharp edge of anger. Then she smiled again. "Your marriage to Avery Sinclair was private," she said. "No announcement, no wedding banquet, no proper family blessing. Legally, perhaps it exists. Socially, it can be handled." The silence around us deepened. I stared at her. Then I finally understood the full shape of their plan. They were not unaware of my marriage. They were trying to erase it. My mother grabbed my sleeve again. Avery's family is powerful. She will be fine. Vanessa needs this more. Her reputation is already tied to yours. I slowly turned to her. Who tied it? She did not answer. Vanessa did. We all make choices, she said, her tone softening. You let me get close enough for people to misunderstand. I laughed once. You mean when you showed up at my office uninvited and told the receptionist you were my fiancé? Her face went still. Someone nearby gasped. I continued. Or when you sent flowers to my company and signed the card, your future wife. Or when you leaked photos from a charity gala cropped so Avery wasn't visible. My mother hissed, Earl, stop. But I had spent too many years being told to stop. Stop complaining. Stop resisting. Stop exposing the people who hurt me. Tonight I was not stopping. Vanessa took a breath. You're emotional. I'm married. You can divorce. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said, I would rather cut off my own hand. Her face finally cracked. It was small, but I saw it. So did my father. His expression hardened with panic. This was not how tonight was supposed to go. I was supposed to arrive alone, be cornered by public pressure, and smile stiffly while my life was auctioned off. He had counted on my shame. My mother had counted on my guilt. Vanessa had counted on the crowd. They had all forgotten one thing. A cornered man did not always kneel. Sometimes he bit. My father lowered his voice. If you walk away tonight, don't bother coming home. That almost made me laugh again. Dad, I said, I haven't considered your house my home since I was 13. His pupils tightened. Good. Let him remember. Let him remember the year he sent me to boarding school because my grades were better than my cousin S, and it made the real heir look bad. Let him remember the summer he left me in a hospital waiting room for 7 hours because my mother said Vanessa's family dinner mattered more than my broken wrist. Let him remember all the times he called me useful only when investors liked my work. Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice until only we could hear. You should think carefully, she said. Avery may be strong, but even the Sinclair family can bleed. One scandal, one accusation, one well-placed article, she can lose more than you think. My eyes went cold. There it was. The thread. The moment she stopped pretending this was romance and revealed what it had always been. A transaction with a knife under the table. I leaned in slightly. If you threaten my wife again, I'll forget you're a woman. Vanessa's eyes widened. Then she slapped me. The sound cracked across the stage area. Everyone froze. My mother gasped. Mia covered her mouth. My father looked equal parts horrified and relieved because now Vanessa could play victim. Vanessa's eyes immediately filled with tears. You scared me, she whispered, just loud enough for people nearby to hear. You threatened me. Phones lifted higher. Reporters straightened. My jaw stung. I slowly turned my head back toward her. Before I could speak, 2 men in black suits stepped beside me. Hale family security, big shoulders, earpieces, hands already reaching. Mr. Zahn, one of them said, you need to calm down. I looked at his hand on my arm. I am calm. Please step backstage. No. His grip tightened. The second man moved behind me. My father did not stop them. My mother looked away. Mia whispered, just go with them, Earl. Something inside me went perfectly still. I thought about Avery. I thought about how she had told me that morning not to go if I had a bad feeling. I thought about how I had kissed her forehead and told her I could handle a business banquet. I was an idiot. The guard tried to twist my arm behind my back. I moved first. My elbow drove backward into his ribs. He grunted, loosening his grip. I turned, caught his wrist, and shoved him into the second guard hard enough that they both stumbled into the edge of the stage. The crowd erupted. Someone screamed. My father shouted my name. The first guard recovered fast. He swung at me. I ducked, felt the air move over my head, and drove my fist into his stomach. He folded slightly. I grabbed his lapel and shoved him into a floral arrangement. White roses exploded everywhere. For one almost peaceful second, petals drifted through the air like snow. Then the second guard tackled me. We hit the floor hard. Pain shot through my shoulder. He was heavier than me, trained enough to know how to use his weight. His forearm pressed across my throat. I drove my knee up into his side, once, twice. He grunted but did not release me. The first guard was already getting back up. I remember thinking, very clearly, that this was going to be ugly. Then the ballroom door slammed open. The sound was so loud that even the screaming stopped. A woman's voice cut through the room. "Take your hands off my husband." I knew that voice. Every muscle in my body loosened at once. Avery stood at the entrance of the ballroom in a black evening dress and a white silk shawl. Her hair was pinned loosely at the back of her neck. Diamond earrings flashed beneath the chandelier light. She looked elegant. She looked beautiful. She looked absolutely murderous. Behind her stood my assistant David, looking pale and terrified, and Mrs. Gable, our housekeeper, gripping her purse like she was about to use it as a weapon. I had never loved either of them more. Avery's eyes swept over the room, taking in the banner, the invitations, Vanessa in her silver dress, my parents near the stage, and me pinned to the floor under a Hale family guard. Her smile appeared. That was when everyone should have run. The guard on top of me turned his head. "Ma'am, please stay back." Avery walked forward. She did not hurry. That was the terrifying part. She moved like someone who had already decided what would happen and was simply allowing time to catch up. The first guard stepped into her path. "Miss Sinclair," he said, recognizing her too late, "this is a private event." Avery looked at him. "I know," she said. "That's why I'm wondering what all these strangers are doing at my husband's fake engagement party." He reached out to block her. "Big mistake." Avery caught his wrist, turned beneath his arm, and twisted. There was a sharp cry. A second later, the guard was on his knees, his arm bent at an angle that made every man in the room wince. Avery leaned close to him and said sweetly, "You touched first." Then she released him and kicked him in the chest hard enough to send him rolling backward into the champagne tower. Glass shattered. Champagne sprayed across the floor. Someone screamed again, louder this time. The guard on top of me finally understood that his career had taken a terrible turn. He tried to get off me. Too late. Avery reached us in 3 strides, grabbed the back of his suit jacket, and yanked him up with shocking strength. He swung his elbow at her. She slipped aside, caught his arm, stepped behind him, and drove her knee into the back of his leg. He dropped. Before he could recover, she hooked one arm around his neck and used his own momentum to throw him over her hip. He landed flat on his back with a sound like a dropped sandbag. The entire ballroom went silent. Avery adjusted her shawl. Then she looked down at me. "Comfortable?" I stared up at her from the floor, breathless and aching. "I was handling it." She raised one eyebrow. "You were being strangled by catering security." "That was part of the plan." "Of course." She reached down and offered me her hand. I took it. The moment I was standing, her expression changed. Her fingers brushed my jaw, stopping over the red slap mark Vanessa had left behind. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Who did this?" she asked. Nobody answered. Avery turned her head slowly. Vanessa stood frozen beside the stage, face pale beneath her makeup. Avery smiled at her. "No need," she said. "I can guess." Vanessa straightened, forcing tears back into her eyes. "Avery, I think there has been a misunderstanding." Avery walked toward her. Vanessa instinctively stepped back. That one step ruined her innocent act more effectively than any confession could have. Avery stopped in front of her. "You printed my husband's name on your engagement invitation." Vanessa swallowed. "Our families agreed. I did not ask about your families." "My father and Mr. Zahn. I did not ask about your fathers." Vanessa's voice sharpened. "You don't own him." Avery's smile widened. "No," she said. "He owns himself. That's why this little kidnapping banquet is so embarrassing for you." A few people in the crowd made choking sounds that might have been suppressed laughter. My father stormed forward. "Avery, this is between families. You need to show some respect." Avery did not even look at him. "Mr. Zahn," she said, "you staged an engagement announcement for my husband and another woman without his consent. I am showing exactly as much respect as you purchased." His face went purple. My mother rushed between them. "Avery, please, Vanessa has been humiliated enough. We can talk privately." Avery finally looked at her. The softness in my wife's eyes vanished. "Mrs. Zahn," she said, "you invited reporters to watch your son be pressured into bigamy and fraud. There is no private left." My mother flinched. Vanessa suddenly straightened, as if remembering she still had an audience. "You're twisting this," she said. Her voice trembled beautifully. "Timothy and I had an understanding. He led me on for years. He accepted my family's support. He allowed me to believe we had a future." Avery tilted her head. "Did he?" "Yes." "Wonderful." Avery turned and lifted one hand. David, my assistant, nearly dropped the tablet he was holding. Then he scrambled forward, connected it to the ballroom projector, and tapped the screen with shaking fingers. The banner behind the stage flickered. The fake congratulations disappeared. A video appeared. Vanessa was on screen. She was sitting in a private room at a restaurant across from a man I recognized as my father's legal consultant. Her voice came clearly through the speakers. "I don't care if he's married," she said on the recording. "Private marriages can be buried. What matters is public perception. Once the announcement is made, he either accepts me or destroys his family." The ballroom went dead silent. In the video, the consultant shifted uncomfortably. "And if he refuses?" Vanessa smiled. "Then we ruin his wife first. A few rumors about Sinclair money laundering, a forged affair. Maybe a pregnancy scandal. Men like Timothy are noble when it costs them nothing. Make it cost him Avery and he'll kneel." The recording stopped. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the whispers began. They rolled through the ballroom like a storm crossing water. Vanessa's face drained of all color. My father looked like someone had reached inside his chest and squeezed his heart. My mother covered her mouth. Mia stared at Vanessa in horror. I turned slowly toward Avery. She gave me a small shrug. "You forgot your laptop open last night. I saw the banquet calendar. Then David found the invitations. Then Mrs. Gable did what Mrs. Gable does." Mrs. Gable, standing near the ballroom doors, lifted her chin proudly. I blinked. "You investigated my fake engagement before breakfast." Avery patted my cheek gently. "Marriage is teamwork." Vanessa suddenly lunged forward. "You had me followed." Avery turned back to her. Yes, that's illegal. So is forging an engagement contract. Vanessa froze. Avery lifted her hand again. David tapped the tablet. The screen changed to a scanned document. At first, it looked like a business agreement. Then the camera zoomed in on my signature. My forged signature. The room erupted again. Avery's voice remained calm. This is the document Vanessa planned to present tonight if Timothy refused. It claims he accepted $10 million from the Hale family as a marriage commitment deposit. I stared at the screen. My blood went cold. My father looked away. That was all the confirmation I needed. I turned to him. You knew. He said nothing. My mother whispered, your father was desperate. I laughed softly. No, desperate people ask for help. Criminals forge signatures. Vanessa snapped. It would have been valid once you acknowledged it publicly. I looked at her. You really thought I would? Her eyes flashed. You were supposed to. The words came out raw. Not sweet, not wounded, not elegant. Just furious. You were supposed to stand there, she said, voice rising, smile and do what was best for everyone. Do you think Avery Sinclair loves you? She married you because you were useful. I am the one who actually chose you. I am the one who fought for you. Avery laughed. It was a quiet laugh. That made it worse. Vanessa turned on her. What are you laughing at? You, Avery said. You keep mistaking stalking for devotion. Vanessa's hand twitched. I saw the slap coming before she moved. So did Avery. Vanessa swung. Avery caught her wrist in midair. The crack of palm against skin never came. Instead, there was only the soft sound of Avery's fingers closing. Vanessa gasped. Avery leaned closer. You slapped my husband, she said. I was willing to let that be handled by lawyers, but if you try to touch me too, I may become sentimental and handle it personally. Vanessa tried to pull away. Avery let her go. Vanessa stumbled backward, humiliated, clutching her wrist. Then she screamed, security. Nobody moved. The two guards Avery had dropped were still struggling on the floor. The rest of the event staff had wisely decided that they were underpaid. My father barked, someone remove her. Avery finally turned her full attention to him. Careful, she said. One word. That was all. But my father stopped speaking. Because whatever else he was not stupid. He knew the Sinclair family. Everyone did. They had money in technology, healthcare, logistics, private security, and enough political relationships to make entire rooms behave themselves. My father had always believed our family could climb higher by attaching itself to stronger people. He had simply forgotten that stronger people could also crush. Vanessa's father, Gregory Hale, finally stepped forward. He was a tall man with silver hair and a face carved from arrogance. Until now, he had been watching from the front row like a king, waiting for peasants to resolve a dispute. His voice was icy. Mrs. Sinclair's on. Avery smiled. Mr. Hale. You have made quite a spectacle. No, Avery said. Your daughter did, I added, lighting. A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. Gregory Hale's jaw tightened. You should consider the consequences of humiliating my family in public. Avery's expression did not change. Mr. Hale, your daughter forged documents, threatened my reputation, attempted to coerce my husband, and hired men to physically restrain him. If public humiliation is the consequence she receives tonight, she should thank me for my restraint. Vanessa cried, Dad, don't let her talk to us like this. Gregory lifted a hand to silence her. Then he looked at me. Young man, he said, you are making a mistake. My family was prepared to save yours. Think carefully before you throw that away for a woman who may tire of you. Avery moved before I could answer. She stepped between us. The gesture was small, but it hit me harder than any speech could have. All my life, people had stepped in front of me to block my way, to silence me, to bargain over me, to decide what I owed. Avery stepped in front of me to protect me. My husband does not need saving by parasites, she said. Gregory's face darkened. Do you speak for the Sinclair family? Avery smiled. I am the Sinclair family. That was when the side doors opened again. 3 men in dark suits entered. But they were not Hale security. I recognized the first one immediately. Avery's father, Richard Sinclair. He was a calm, elegant man with silver-rimmed glasses and the terrifying patience of someone who destroyed enemies by scheduling meetings. He walked into the ballroom, surveyed the broken champagne tower, the fake banner, the stunned guests, and the 2 injured guards. Then he sighed. Avery, he said, your mother told you not to fight in formal wear. Avery looked slightly guilty. They started it. Richard Sinclair glanced at me. Earl, are you hurt? Before I could answer, Avery said, he was slapped and tackled. Richard's eyes sharpened. My father immediately stepped forward, trying to salvage dignity. Richard, this has gotten out of hand. We can discuss this privately as families. Richard looked at him. No, he said, we cannot. My father stiffened. Richard removed a folded document from inside his jacket and handed it to one of his men. The man walked to the projector table. Avery seemed unsurprised. I was beginning to suspect my wife and her father had planned more before breakfast than most military units planned in a week. The screen changed again. This time it showed financial records. Richard spoke calmly. As of 20 minutes ago, Sinclair Holdings has suspended all pending contracts involving Zahn Group subsidiaries connected to Hale Capital. Furthermore, after reviewing preliminary evidence of document forgery, coercion, and potential securities misrepresentation, we will forward all materials to our legal department and relevant authorities. The ballroom exploded. Investors began whispering sharply. Reporters started typing. My father's face turned gray. Gregory Hale's calm finally cracked. You wouldn't dare. Richard gave him a mild look. I already did. Vanessa shook her head wildly. No, no, you can't. This was supposed to, she stopped herself. But it was too late. Avery's eyes narrowed. Supposed to what? Vanessa looked around and realized every phone in the room was pointed at her. Her mouth opened. No words came out. Mia suddenly stepped forward, her face pale. Earl, maybe we should all calm down. Vanessa made mistakes, but Avery doesn't have to destroy 2 families over one misunderstanding. I turned to my sister. For a second, I saw the little girl who used to sneak cookies into my room after our father screamed at me. Then I saw the woman who had texted me not to bring my wife because she knew what tonight was. Mia, I said quietly, did you know? Her eyes filled with tears. That was answer enough. I nodded. Something cold settled in my chest. Of course you did. She shook her head. I didn't know it would be like this. What did you think a fake engagement banquet would be like? She flinched. My mother began crying again. Real tears this time, maybe. Or maybe she had just improved her technique. Earl, she sobbed, we were trying to protect the family. I looked at her. No, I said. You were trying to sell me before the debt collectors arrived. My father roared, you unfilial bastard. He charged at me. It was sudden enough that several people screamed. He raised his hand like he was going to strike me in front of everyone. I did not move. Maybe part of me wanted him to do it. Maybe part of me wanted the whole room to see what kind of father he had always been. But his hand never reached me. Avery caught his wrist. The slap froze inches from my face. Her expression was terrifyingly calm. "Mr. Zahn," she said, "you already auctioned your son once tonight. Do not make me break the hand you used to sign the paperwork." My father struggled, let go. Avery squeezed. His knees bent slightly. "Avery," Richard said mildly. "But Dad, not in front of the reporters." She sighed and released him. My father staggered back, clutching his wrist. I should not have enjoyed that. I did. Gregory Hale suddenly turned to his daughter. "Vanessa, we are leaving." "No," Vanessa whispered. He grabbed her arm, "Now." But Vanessa was no longer looking at him. She was looking at me. Her eyes were red. Her face was twisted. All the polish, all the charm, all the rich girl grace had burned away, leaving something ugly and desperate underneath. "You think this is over?" she asked. Avery stepped forward. I caught her hand. Not because Vanessa did not deserve whatever was coming. Because I wanted to be the one to answer. I looked Vanessa in the eye. "No," I said, "I think it's finally starting." Vanessa's lips trembled. Then she smiled. It was small. It was wrong. And it told me that Avery had been right from the beginning. People like Vanessa did not stop when they were exposed. They escalated. She leaned closer and whispered, "Then I'll see you at the courthouse, husband." Avery's fingers tightened around mine. Vanessa left with her father, but I knew she had not surrendered. The banquet hall remained frozen in the wreckage of the evening. Broken glass glittered on the floor. White roses lay crushed under expensive shoes. The fake engagement banner still hung behind us, now looking less like decoration and more like evidence. Reporters shouted questions. Investors rushed for exits. My mother cried into Mia's shoulder. My father stood alone, staring at the floor like a man watching numbers bleed out of a ledger. I turned to Avery. "You sure know how to make an entrance." She glanced at the destroyed champagne tower. I was aiming for tasteful. "You threw a man into the drinks. He was blocking the walkway." Richard Sinclair cleared his throat. "Avery." She turned toward him, suddenly looking like a daughter who had been caught sneaking out past curfew. "Yes, Dad." "Next time," he said, "call legal before throwing security." She smiled. I did both. Richard considered that. Then he nodded, efficient. Despite everything, I laughed. It came out rough. Avery's expression softened immediately. She stepped closer and touched my jaw again, careful around the red mark. "Does it hurt?" "No." "Liar." "A little." Her eyes darkened. I should have hit her. "You threatened to." I showed admirable restraint. "You did." She looked toward the door Vanessa had left through. "I don't like her." That was subtle. "She threatened you." "She threatened you too." Avery looked back at me. Her voice softened, but her words were steel. "People can threaten me. They cannot use me to break you." For a moment, the noise of the ballroom faded. The reporters, the guests, the broken glass, my parents, Vanessa, the fake banner, all of it became distant. There was only Avery standing in front of me, fierce and beautiful, still holding my hand like she had no intention of ever letting go. I had spent most of my life being treated like a bargaining chip. Then this woman came into my life and treated me like a person worth fighting for. I lowered my voice. "I'm sorry." Her brows drew together. "For what?" "For this, for them, for dragging you into my family's mess." She stared at me for a moment. Then she flicked my forehead. Now, you idiot, she said. I married you. Your mess became our mess. That is literally the point. Richard Sinclair stepped beside us. As touching as this is, you should both leave before someone tries to make a statement. Avery nodded. I looked toward my parents one last time. My mother was watching me through tears. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to come over. Maybe she wanted to apologize. Maybe she wanted to beg. Maybe she wanted to explain how everything she did was, because she loved me in some twisted, useless way. I did not wait to find out. Avery and I walked out of the banquet hall together. Behind us, the fake celebration continued collapsing. Outside, the night air was cool against my face. The valet area was crowded with luxury cars and stunned guests pretending not to stare. David hurried ahead to get our car. Mrs. Gable followed behind us, muttering under her breath about shameless rich people and engagement banners for married men. Avery wrapped her shawl around my shoulders instead of her own. I'm not cold, I said. I am not asking. I smiled faintly. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then she said, you should have called me. I thought it was a business banquet. You saw the invitation. For about 30 seconds before attempting diplomacy. You call punching security diplomacy. It was a tense negotiation. Avery gave me a look. I sighed, fine, I should have called you. Yes. I was embarrassed. Her expression softened again. I hated that. I could handle anger. I could handle sarcasm. I could handle her scolding me until sunrise. Tenderness was harder. It made every wall inside me feel useless. I looked away. I didn't want you to see them treating me like that. Avery said nothing. Then she stepped in front of me, forcing me to look at her. Earl, she said gently, I did not see them treating you like anything. I frowned. I saw them reveal themselves, she continued. There is a difference. My throat tightened. She reached up and straightened my tie, even though it had been ruined during the fight. They can humiliate themselves as much as they want, she said. It does not make you smaller. I stared at her. This woman. This impossible woman. She could break a man's wrist in one breath and put my broken pieces back into place in the next. The valet pulled up with our car. David jumped out and opened the back door. Sir, Mrs. Sinclair's on. We should probably leave. Several reporters are coming this way. Avery turned. Sure enough, a cluster of reporters was rushing down the steps. Mr. Zahn, did you know about the engagement announcement? Mrs. Sinclair's on. Are you taking legal action? Is it true Vanessa Hale forged a marriage contract? Avery took my hand and guided me toward the car. Then Vanessa's voice rang out behind us. Viral. We stopped. I should not have turned. But I did. Vanessa stood at the top of the steps, silver dress glittering beneath the lights, hair slightly disheveled, face tear-streaked but smiling. In front of the reporters, she lifted her hand and pressed it over her stomach. My blood went cold before she even spoke. Her voice trembled loud enough for every camera to catch. You can deny everything else, she said, but are you really going to abandon me while I'm carrying your child? The world went silent, then exploded. Flashbulbs went off. Reporters shouted. David swore under his breath. Mrs. Gable gasped. My mind went blank. Not because I believed her. Because I finally understood how far she was willing to go. Avery went very still beside me. Vanessa's smile widened through her tears. She had lost the banquet. So she had chosen a battlefield with better lighting. I opened my mouth, but Avery squeezed my hand once. A warning. Then she turned toward Vanessa. Her face was calm. Too calm. Vanessa, Avery said, voice carrying across the valet area, if you are going to fake a pregnancy, at least choose a man who has been alone with you in the past year. The reporters froze. Vanessa's expression flickered. Avery took one step forward. And if you insist on continuing, she added, I will personally escort you to a hospital for a blood test right now. On camera. Vanessa's hand tightened over her stomach. Avery smiled. Unless, of course, the baby is as fake as the engagement. For a moment, no one breathed. Then Vanessa lowered her hand. Only an inch. But every camera caught it. Avery turned back to me. Get in the car. I did. Because I was not stupid. As David drove us away, I looked out the rear window. Vanessa stood at the top of the steps, surrounded by reporters, her father gripping her arm, her face twisted with rage. Avery leaned back beside me and closed her eyes. I studied her profile. You had that answer ready. I assumed she would try pregnancy eventually. I stared. Eventually, Avery, the fake engagement happened tonight. She is predictable. You are terrifying. She opened one eye. You knew that when you married me. I thought it was part-time. It is a full-time position. I laughed despite myself. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Mia. You humiliated Mom and Dad. Was that really necessary? I looked at it for a long moment. Then I blocked her. Avery noticed. Good, she said. You didn't even ask. I saw your face. I slipped the phone into my pocket. For the first time that night, exhaustion hit me. My shoulder ached. My jaw throbbed. My suit smelled faintly like champagne. My family had tried to sell me. Vanessa had accused me of abandoning a fake child, and my wife had taken down 2 bodyguards in formal wear. Just another Thursday. Avery rested her head on my shoulder carefully, avoiding the bruised side. Come home, she said. Those 2 words nearly undid me. Not because of the words themselves. Because for once, home meant somewhere safe. Not a house where love came with receipts. Not a family table where every meal became a negotiation. Not a place where my name could be printed beside someone else's, because powerful people decided it was convenient. Home was Avery. Home was her hand in mine. Home was the woman who walked into a room full of enemies and made every single one of them regret underestimating her. I closed my eyes. But I did not sleep. Because Vanessa's last smile was still burned into my mind. And I knew this was not over. Not even close. The next morning, the scandal was everywhere. By 7 o'clock, David had sent me 36 screenshots, 12 links, and 1 voice message that consisted entirely of him screaming into his coffee. The headlines were exactly as ugly as expected. ZAHN Air caught in double engagement scandal. SINCLAR daughter attacks security, Hale banquet. Vanessa Hale CLAIMS secret pregnancy after public humiliation. Of course, the media had latched onto the messiest version. They always did. Avery sat across from me at the breakfast table, wearing one of my shirts and spreading jam on toast like she had not committed elegant violence 12 hours earlier. I scrolled through the articles with a blank expression. They're calling you aggressive, I said. She took a bite of toast. Accurate. They're calling me heartless. Debatable. They're calling Vanessa tragic. Avery looked up. Then she reached for her phone. What are you doing? I asked. Posting the video. I reached across the table and gently took her phone. She narrowed her eyes. Girl. Legal first. She looked annoyed. I smiled. Your father said call legal before throwing security. I assume posting evidence also counts. She considered that. Fine. Mrs. Gable entered carrying coffee. I already sent the videos to Mr. Sinclair's legal team, she said. Avery brightened. I stared at our housekeeper. Mrs. Gable gave me a dignified look. I may be old, sir, but I am not slow. I looked at Avery. Your influence is spreading. My influence improves people. Mrs. Gable nodded solemnly. It does. Before I could respond, my phone rang. My father. I stared at the screen until it stopped. Then it rang again. Then my mother. Then Mia. Then an unknown number. Avery watched silently. I turned the phone face down. A minute later, David called. I answered. Sir, he said, voice tense, Vanessa Hale is downstairs at the office. I closed my eyes. Avery set down her toast. David continued, she brought reporters. Of course she did. I stood. Avery stood with me. I looked at her, you don't have to come. She gave me a bland smile. Try saying that again and see what happens. I wisely did not. By the time we arrived at my company headquarters, the lobby looked like someone had spilled a newsroom across the marble floor. Reporters crowded near the reception desk. Cameras pointed toward the elevator. Employees stood frozen behind glass partitions, pretending to work while watching every second. And in the center of it all stood Vanessa. Today she wore white. Of course she did. A soft white dress, minimal makeup, loose hair, flat shoes, the wounded angel costume. One hand rested lightly on her stomach. Beside her stood a middle-aged woman I recognized as her aunt, sobbing into a handkerchief like she had been hired by the hour. Vanessa saw me enter and immediately turned toward the cameras. Earl, she said, voice breaking, I didn't want to come here, but you blocked my number. I never gave you my number. That was not the line she wanted. Several reporters murmured. Vanessa recovered quickly. After everything between us, after what happened, how can you be so cold? Avery stepped beside me. Vanessa's eyes flicked to her. Fear passed through them. Good. A reporter shouted, Mr. Zahn, are you denying Miss Hale's claim that she is pregnant with your child? Yes, I said. Another reporter shouted, will you agree to a paternity test? Yes. Vanessa froze. I looked directly at her. I'll agree to any legally supervised test at any certified medical facility, right now. Her lips parted. The aunt stopped crying. Avery smiled faintly. Vanessa whispered, you would force a pregnant woman through that kind of stress. I nodded. If she's accusing me of being the father in front of reporters, yes. A few cameras shifted toward Vanessa. Her hand trembled. Then she lowered her gaze and whispered, you really have changed. That almost made me laugh. People loved saying that when their manipulation stopped working. Avery spoke calmly. No, he has not changed. You simply never had the right to him. Vanessa's eyes hardened. Then she raised her voice. If you deny me, I'll release everything. The lobby went still. I looked at her carefully. What exactly is everything? Her expression changed. She realized too late that she had spoken too honestly. Avery took one step forward. Yes, Vanessa, tell the cameras, what are you threatening to release? Vanessa's face flushed. I meant the truth. Avery smiled. Truth usually does not require threats. Before Vanessa could answer, the elevator doors opened behind us. Richard Sinclair walked out with 3 lawyers. I had never been so happy to see paperwork in my life. Richard looked at Vanessa, then at the reporters. "Excellent," he said calmly. "Everyone is here." One of the lawyers stepped forward and handed Vanessa an envelope. Vanessa did not take it. Her aunt did. "What is this?" the aunt demanded. The lawyer replied, "A cease and desist letter, notice of pending civil claims and preservation demand for all communications, financial records, medical claims, digital files, and media contacts related to your defamatory statements against Mr. Zahn and Mrs. Sinclair Zahn." The aunt blinked. Avery leaned toward me and whispered, "Legal first." I whispered back, "I'm proud of you." She smiled. Vanessa suddenly screamed. It was sharp enough to echo against the marble. "You think lawyers scare me?" Richard looked at her mildly. "No, I think consequences will." Vanessa ripped the envelope from her aunt's hand and threw it at my chest. Avery caught it before it hit me. Then Vanessa lunged at her. That was the second mistake Vanessa Hale made in less than 24 hours. Avery did not even fully move. She shifted half a step sideways, caught Vanessa's wrist, and used the woman's own momentum to spin her around. Vanessa stumbled, lost her balance, and would have fallen face first onto the marble if Avery had not caught the back of her dress. For a second, Vanessa hung there, bent awkwardly, saved from injury by the same woman she had tried to attack. Avery leaned close to her ear. "Careful," she said softly. "Pregnant women should not move so recklessly." The reporters heard it. The lobby erupted. Vanessa's face twisted with humiliation. Avery released her. Vanessa staggered upright, breathing hard. "You'll regret this," she hissed. Avery's eyes were cold. "No," she said, "but you will." That was when my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. A photo appeared. It showed me leaving the banquet the night before. Except Avery had been edited out. The angle made it look like I was walking beside Vanessa. Below it was a message. "Marry her quietly, or tomorrow every outlet gets worse." I stared at the screen. Then another message arrived. "Your wife cannot fight every battle." Avery looked over my shoulder. Her expression did not change, but her eyes did. She took the phone from my hand, looked at the message, and then looked at Vanessa. Vanessa smiled. For the cameras, it looked fragile. To us, it looked like war. Avery handed my phone to Richard. "Dad," she said. Richard read the message. Then he removed his glasses, cleaned them slowly, and put them back on. That was the Sinclair family equivalent of drawing a sword. He looked at Vanessa. "Miss Hale," he said, "thank you." Vanessa faltered. "For what?" "For putting the threat in writing." For the first time since I had known her, Vanessa Hale looked genuinely afraid. And I realized something. The banquet had been only the beginning. The real fight would not be in a ballroom. It would be in headlines, courtrooms, boardrooms, parking garages, and every shadow Vanessa could buy. She wanted to force me into marriage. My family wanted to use me as payment. The Hale family wanted to bury the truth under money. But they had all made the same mistake. They thought Avery was only my wife. They did not understand that she was my shield, my sword, and when necessary, the woman who would kick down the door before I even knew I was trapped behind it. And as Vanessa was escorted out of my lobby by her aunt and two trembling assistants, Avery slipped her hand into mine. "Still think you can handle this alone?" she asked. I glanced at the cracked lobby vase, the reporters, the lawyers, my buzzing phone, and the woman in white glaring at us through the revolving doors. Then I sighed. "No." Avery smiled. "Good husband." I looked at her. "Did you just train me like a dog?" A smart dog. I should have been offended. Instead, I laughed. For about 3 seconds. Then David ran toward us from the elevator, face pale. "Sir," he said, breathless, "you need to see this." He handed me his tablet. On the screen was a live stream from my father's house. My mother stood in the living room, crying in front of a camera. Beside her sat Vanessa. And between them, on the coffee table, was a document with my forged signature. My mother looked into the camera and sobbed. My son made a promise to this poor girl. As his mother, I cannot stay silent while he abandons her. I felt Avery's hand tighten around mine. On the screen, Vanessa lowered her head and whispered, "I don't want to destroy Earl. I just want him to take responsibility." My father stepped into frame. His face was grim. "If Timothy refuses to do what is right," he said, "then the Zahn family will recognize Vanessa Hale as his rightful fiancée." The livestream viewer count climbed by the second. 10,000. 20,000. 50,000. Avery stared at the screen. Then she smiled. Not warmly, not sweetly, but with the kind of calm fury that made grown men reconsider their life choices. "Wonderful," she said. I looked at her. "Wonderful." She handed the tablet back to David. They just made themselves witnesses. Then she turned toward the elevators. "Come on. Where are we going?" Avery glanced back at me. "To your parents' house." Her smile sharpened. "They want a family meeting. Let's give them one." By the time we reached my parents' house, the live stream had already passed 200,000 viewers. David sat in the passenger seat, refreshing the comments with the pale, haunted expression of a man watching a train derail in slow motion. "They're saying you abandoned Vanessa," he muttered. "Some people are asking why Mrs. Zahn would lie about her own son." Avery, sitting beside me in the back seat, gave a cold laugh. "Because people still think mothers are incapable of betrayal." I looked out the window. The streets leading into my parents' neighborhood were lined with old trees and expensive gates. Every lawn looked trimmed by someone who had never been allowed to be tired. Every house looked like it had been built to hide screaming behind marble walls. I knew that world too well. My parents' house sat at the end of a private road, white stone walls glowing under the late afternoon sun. When I was younger, I used to stand outside that gate after school, waiting for someone to remember to let me in. Sometimes no one did. Sometimes I would sit on my backpack until the housekeeper got back from errands. My father once said forgetting me outside was not neglect. It was teaching independence. Funny how rich people could turn cruelty into philosophy if the furniture was expensive enough. As David pulled up, we saw 3 news vans parked across the street. Mrs. Gable, who had insisted on following in her own car, rolled down her window behind us and shouted, "Shameless people, broadcasting family drama like a cooking show." Avery turned to me. "You ready?" "No." She blinked. I sighed, "But I'm going anyway." "That's acceptable." David looked back. "Sir, legal says not to physically engage unless necessary." Avery opened her door. David immediately added, "That was for both of you." Avery smiled at him. Poor David looked like he wanted to resign and enter witness protection. We stepped out. The moment cameras spotted us, reporters swarmed toward the gate. "Mr. Zahn, did you promise marriage to Vanessa Hale?" "Mrs. Sinclair Zahn, is your marriage legal?" "Are you afraid of the pregnancy allegations?" Avery slipped her hand into mine and squeezed once. That was all. Not a command, not comfort exactly. A reminder. I was not walking into this alone. The front gate opened before we reached it. Mia stood inside. Her face was pale and tense, her eyes red from crying. She looked smaller than she had at the banquet, less polished, less certain. For half a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the text telling me not to bring my wife. My sympathy dried up. "You came," she whispered. "You invited the internet," I said. "It would have been rude not to." She flinched. Avery looked past her toward the house. "Are they still live?" Mia hesitated. Avery's eyes sharpened. Mia looked down. "Yes." Avery smiled. "Good." Mia's face twisted. "Avery, please don't make this worse." Avery tilted her head. "Your family forged my husband's signature, staged a fake engagement, accused him of abandoning a fake pregnancy, and is currently live-streaming defamation from the living room. Mia, sweetheart, worse, already packed a suitcase and moved in." Mrs. Gable, walking up behind us, nodded firmly. "Exactly." Mia looked like she wanted to argue, but there were no words left. She stepped aside. The moment we entered the house, I heard my mother crying. Not soft crying. Performance crying. The kind meant to travel through walls and cameras. Her voice floated from the living room. "I know Timothy is angry with us right now, but as his mother, I cannot watch him ruin an innocent woman." Avery's grip tightened. I felt something inside me close. My mother had always been good at choosing her words. She never said she was lying. She simply arranged enough feelings around a lie that people mistook it for truth. We walked into the living room. The scene was absurd. My mother sat on the cream sofa, clutching Vanessa's hand. Vanessa sat beside her in white, head lowered, looking like a saint painted by someone who had never met one. My father stood near the fireplace with his arms behind his back, wearing his tragic patriarch expression. A ring light stood in front of them. A phone sat on a tripod. The comments on the live stream flew up the screen too fast to read. My father saw me and stiffened. My mother's crying stopped for half a second. Vanessa looked up and smiled. Not for the camera. For me. My father spoke first. "You finally decided to face your responsibilities." I looked at the phone on the tripod. Then at him. "You mean your audience?" His jaw tightened. "The public deserves to know the truth." Avery stepped forward. "Wonderful, we brought some." Vanessa's smile faded slightly. My mother stood quickly. "Avery, this is a family matter." Avery looked at her. "I'm his wife." My mother's mouth opened. No sound came out. Avery continued. "That means I am family. Vanessa is the woman who tried to buy a wedding dress with forged paperwork." The livestream comments exploded. My father moved toward the tripod. Avery lifted one finger. "Touch that phone and I will assume you are destroying evidence." He stopped. I nearly smiled. Avery Sinclair could make a threat sound like a weather report. Vanessa slowly rose from the sofa, one hand still hovering near her stomach. "Earl," she said gently, "I didn't want it to happen like this." I stared at her. "Then why did you bring cameras?" Her expression trembled beautifully. "I was desperate." "No," I said, "you were losing." Her eyes flashed. There she was. My mother stepped between us. "Earl, how can you talk to her that way? She is carrying a lie," Avery cut in. My mother turned on her. "How dare you?" Avery's voice stayed calm, very easily. Vanessa's aunt, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly stood. "You Sinclair women think money lets you bully anyone you want." Mrs. Gable stepped forward from behind us. "And you Hale women think white dresses make lies holy. Sit down." The aunt gasped. I looked at Mrs. Gable. She looked back at me. What, she said, I'm old, not decorative. Avery nodded in approval. My father slammed his hand on the mantel. Enough. Earl, you will apologize to Vanessa, announce that last night was a misunderstanding, and begin divorce proceedings immediately. For a second, the room went quiet. Even the live stream comments seemed to blur into silence. I looked at my father. This man had taught me many things. How to recognize disappointment before it became a slap. How to eat dinner without making noise. How to understand that kindness from him was usually a receipt for future obedience. But he had never taught me how to be his son. Only how to survive being his possession. I took one step forward. No. His face hardened. What did you say? I said no. You. I will not apologize. I will not divorce my wife. I will not marry Vanessa. And I will not carry your debts on my back because you were too proud to admit the company was failing. My mother's face crumpled. Earl, your father did everything for this family. I turned to her. No, he did everything for the Zahn name. There's a difference. My father pointed at me. You ungrateful bastard. Without this family, you would be nothing. I smiled faintly. That's funny. I became something by staying away from it. Vanessa suddenly stepped closer to the phone. Her voice turned soft again, directed at the viewers. Do you all see? This is what I've been facing. He is cruel when no one obeys him. Avery laughed. Vanessa stiffened. Avery walked to the tripod and looked directly into the live stream. Hello, everyone, she said pleasantly. Since Miss Hale is so eager for public discussion, let's make this useful. My father snapped. Avery, step away from that. She ignored him. Vanessa claims she is pregnant with my husband's child. She also claims they had a relationship. So I'll ask one very simple question. She turned toward Vanessa. When? Vanessa froze. Avery smiled. Give us a date, any date. When were you alone with Timothy long enough for this miracle child to occur? My mother gasped. That is vulgar. Avery looked at her. No, fraud is vulgar, questions are efficient. The comment stream went completely wild. Vanessa's lips parted. My private life is not entertainment, she whispered. I almost laughed. You're live streaming from my parents' couch. Avery nodded. Try again. Vanessa's expression tightened. It was months ago. Which month? March. Avery reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. Interesting. Timothy was in Toronto for 3 weeks in March, then in Seattle for the product launch, then home with me for our anniversary. Vanessa's face paled. Avery tapped her screen. In fact, I have hotel records, flight confirmations, security logs, and several hundred photos from that month. Would you like to choose another one? Vanessa's mouth trembled. My mother whispered, Avery, stop humiliating her. Avery turned that terrifying smile toward her. Mrs. Zahn, humiliation is when your family prints your married son's name beside another woman's on an engagement invitation. This is cross-examination. Mia, standing near the doorway, covered her face. My father's voice became cold. You rehearsed this. Avery looked at him. Your daughter texted Timothy not to bring me. Vanessa hired reporters. You went live with a forged contract. Did you expect us to arrive with snacks? Mrs. Gable muttered, I would have brought snacks if someone told me. The phone on the tripod buzzed constantly as viewers flooded in. Vanessa suddenly rushed toward me. Earl, she sobbed, please, don't let her do this to me. I know you're angry, but you know what we had. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Her fingers closed on air. The rejection snapped something in her face. For the first time, she forgot the camera. "You owe me," she hissed. I stared at her. "For what?" "For choosing you." Her voice rose, raw and shaking. "Do you know how many men wanted me? Do you know how many families begged for an alliance with the Hales? But I chose you. I watched you build your little company. I watched you pretend you didn't need anyone. I waited for you to realize I was the one who could lift you higher." Avery's eyes went cold. Vanessa pointed at her. "And then she came along." I said quietly, "Avery didn't come along, I chose her." Vanessa's face twisted. "No, she stole you." Avery arched an eyebrow. "From where? Your imagination." Vanessa lunged again. This time not at Avery. At me. Her nails aimed straight for my face. I caught her wrist, but before I could push her away, Vanessa's aunt screamed, "He's attacking her." The living room exploded. My mother cried out. My father rushed forward. The aunt grabbed a decorative vase from the side table and swung it toward my head. I saw it too late. Avery did not. She stepped between us and caught the woman's arm with both hands. The vase flew from the aunt's grip and smashed against the wall. Avery twisted, sweeping the woman's leg just enough to drop her onto the rug without breaking anything. The aunt hit the floor with a scandalized shriek. Avery looked down at her. "Next time I won't be polite." My father grabbed my collar. "You animal!" He drew back his fist. I blocked the first hit with my forearm. Pain shot up to my elbow. The second punch caught my shoulder. I shoved him back, but he came at me again, furious and red-faced. I could have hit him. I wanted to. For years I had imagined it. Not because I was proud of that anger, but because some wounds grow teeth if you swallow them too long. But he was still my father. And that hesitation cost me. He drove his fist into my stomach. Air left my lungs. I doubled over. Avery's voice cracked like thunder. "Richard!" The front door opened. I had not even heard anyone arrive. Richard Sinclair walked in with 2 security officers and 3 lawyers, as if this sort of thing happened every Tuesday. He took one look at me bent over, my father standing above me, Vanessa crying dramatically, and Avery holding Vanessa's aunt down with one hand. Then he sighed. "Again." "Avery," he said, "why is there always broken glass?" "She had a vase." Richard nodded, valid. The 2 Sinclair security officers moved fast. One stepped between my father and me. The other helped restrain Vanessa's aunt, who was still screaming about assault despite being the one who had swung porcelain at my skull. My father snarled, "Get out of my house." Richard adjusted his glasses. "With pleasure, after my lawyers serve the preservation notice and collect a copy of your live stream." One lawyer walked straight to the tripod. My father tried to stop him. The security officer blocked his path. Richard looked toward the livestream phone. "Ladies and gentlemen, for the record, this broadcast is being preserved as evidence in ongoing legal action concerning defamation, fraud, coercion, and attempted assault." The comment section became unreadable. Vanessa suddenly looked afraid. Really afraid. Not embarrassed, not angry. Afraid. Because she finally realized that the camera she had brought to ruin me had recorded everything. Her fake tears. Her inconsistent pregnancy claim. Her accusation. Her aunt swinging a vase. My father punching me. Avery defending me. All of it. Avery walked to my side and touched my shoulder. "Can you breathe?" I nodded, though it hurt. She glared at my father. "I should break both his hands." Richard said calmly, "No." "One hand." "No. Dad." Avery. She clicked her tongue and turned back to me. You see what I sacrifice for marriage. Despite the pain in my ribs, I laughed. My mother stood frozen near the sofa, staring at my father like she had never seen him before. That almost made me angry. How many years did a woman need to recognize the man she married? How many times had she looked away before looking surprised finally became another kind of lie? Mia whispered, "Dad, why would you hit him on camera?" My father turned on her. "Shut up." She recoiled. I watched her face change. For years, Mia had lived in the soft middle ground of our family, not loved like an heir, not discarded like me. She had learned to survive by agreeing with whichever side was loudest. Tonight, for the first time, the loudest side had turned on her. She looked at me, not with pity, with understanding. Too late, maybe, but understanding. Vanessa suddenly grabbed her purse. "I'm leaving." Avery moved toward the door before Vanessa could take 3 steps. "No." Vanessa froze. "You can't keep me here." "No," Avery said, "but the police can ask very interesting questions once they arrive." As if summoned by the word, sirens sounded outside. Vanessa's face drained. My mother gasped, "Police? Who called the police?" Mrs. Gable lifted her hand. Everyone turned to her. She shrugged, again old, not decorative. I stared at her with genuine admiration. Avery whispered, "We should give her a raise." "Absolutely." Vanessa backed away from the door. "This is insane. I didn't do anything." David, who had quietly entered behind Richard, lifted his tablet. "Actually," he said, voice shaking but determined, "we received confirmation from the hotel where the fake photo was edited. Miss Hale's assistant booked a media suite there yesterday under an alias. Also, the photographer who took the altered image has agreed to cooperate." Vanessa stared at him. David swallowed, then added, "And your assistant sent me the invoice by accident because she mixed up our company domains." For a second, no one spoke. Then Avery turned to me. "Your assistant may live." David looked relieved. Vanessa screamed. It was not a delicate scream, not a tragic one. It was ugly and sharp and full of panic. "You all planned this." I looked at her. "No, Vanessa, you planned this badly." She lunged toward David. Avery stepped in front of him. Vanessa stopped so fast her shoes skidded on the marble. "Smart." Finally, the police entered a moment later. 2 officers walked into the living room and paused. Their eyes moved over the smashed vase, the overturned side table, the live stream setup, Vanessa's aunt on the rug, my father being blocked by security, and me standing with Avery's hand pressed protectively against my ribs. One officer sighed. "Who called in the assault?" Mrs. Gable raised her hand again. "I did, also fraud, also public stupidity, though I understand that may not be criminal." The officer stared at her. Avery said, "She's with us." "Obviously," the officer said. The next 20 minutes were chaos. Statements were taken. The live stream was ended and preserved. Vanessa insisted she was the victim, until the officer asked if she would submit to a medical examination to support her pregnancy claim. She went silent. My mother tried to claim the forged marriage contract was a misunderstanding, until Richard's lawyer pointed out that she had displayed it on camera while calling Vanessa my rightful fiancée. My father refused to speak without counsel, which was the most intelligent thing he had done all day. Vanessa's aunt accused Avery of attacking her until another officer watched the replay and saw her swing the vase first. Avery stood beside me the entire time. Every time someone got too close, she shifted half a step forward. Not enough to be obvious. Enough that I noticed. Enough that my chest hurt in a way that had nothing to do with my father's punch. Eventually, Vanessa was escorted outside for further questioning. She passed me in the hallway. For a moment, her mask returned. Her voice dropped low enough that only I could hear. You think this ends because of a few police questions. Avery appeared at my shoulder like a shadow with perfect posture. Vanessa's mouth snapped shut. Avery smiled, finished the sentence. Vanessa looked at her. Then at me. Then she laughed softly. You can't guard him forever. Avery's smile vanished. No, she said, but I can make sure every person you hire regrets answering the phone. Vanessa's eyes flickered. The officer guided her out. She did not look back. When the house finally quieted, my mother sat on the sofa like someone had cut her strings. Mia stood near the window, hugging herself. My father had locked himself in his study, with his lawyer on the phone. Richard stepped beside me. You should go to urgent care. I'm fine. Avery said, he's going. Richard nodded, good. I sighed, do I get a vote? Avery and Richard said at the same time, no. Mrs. Gable appeared with my coat. Marriage, she said solemnly, is democracy until injury. I accepted the coat because arguing seemed pointless. As we walked toward the door, my mother suddenly spoke. Girl. I stopped. I should have kept walking. But old habits are hard to kill. Some part of me still turned when my mother called my name, even after everything. She stood slowly. Her face was streaked with tears. Without the ring light, without the camera, without the performance, she looked older. For a moment, I saw the mother I had wanted. Not the one I had. Did you really have to bring police into this? She whispered. Just like that, the illusion died. I looked at her. You watched Dad hit me, I said. She flinched. You helped Vanessa accuse me of abandoning a child that doesn't exist. You displayed a forged document on camera. You told strangers I owed another woman marriage while my actual wife stood beside me. Her lips trembled. I was trying to save the family. No, I said, you were trying to save face. Mia's eyes filled with tears. My mother shook her head. You don't understand what it means to be a parent. Avery made a small sound. I squeezed her hand before she could speak. For once, I wanted to answer for myself. No, I said quietly. I understand exactly what kind of parent I don't want to become. My mother went pale. I turned and walked out. This time, I did not look back. Urgent care confirmed I had bruised ribs, a strained shoulder, and a jaw that would look worse before it looked better. Avery listened to the doctor with the intense focus of someone receiving military intelligence. No heavy lifting, the doctor said. Avery nodded. No strenuous activity. Avery nodded again. Rest for several days. Avery looked at me. I looked away. The doctor narrowed her eyes. I mean it. He's bad at resting, Avery said. I own a company, I protested. You own a phone. I have meetings. You have employees. I have responsibilities. You have bruised ribs. The doctor looked between us and said, I'm going to write that down because she seems to be the only one listening. By the time we got home, it was dark. I expected to feel relieved. Instead, the silence of the house pressed against me. The adrenaline had drained away, leaving aches behind. My father's fist, my mother's accusation. Vanessa's smile, Mia's late understanding, the livestream comments calling me cruel, heartless, guilty. Avery helped me out of my jacket. You're quiet. I'm tired. That's not what I said. I gave her a weak smile. You know me too well. Yes, very inconvenient for you. She led me to the couch and made me sit. Mrs. Gable appeared with soup, pain medication, and the expression of a general overseeing battlefield recovery. Eat, she ordered. I looked at Avery. She's gotten bossier. Avery took the bowl and handed it to me. She learned from the best. Mrs. Gable looked pleased. After she left, Avery sat beside me, not touching my ribs, just close enough that her warmth reached me. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then I said, I almost hit him. Avery's expression softened. But you didn't. I wanted to. That does not make you like him. I stared down at the soup. It felt like it did. Avery reached over and gently took the bowl from my hands, setting it aside. Then she turned my face toward her. Earl, listen to me. Anger is not inheritance. Wanting to protect yourself is not cruelty. Wanting to stop someone from hurting you is not becoming them. My throat tightened. She continued softly, You stopped, he didn't, that is the difference. I closed my eyes. For years, I had thought healing would feel like victory. It didn't. Sometimes it felt like sitting on a couch with bruised ribs, trying not to fall apart because someone finally told you that your pain was allowed to exist. Avery leaned forward and kissed my forehead. Rest, she whispered. I caught her hand. Thank you. She smiled faintly. For saving you from your homicidal father or your fake pregnant fiancé. Both, also the vase. The vase was ugly. It was antique. It was ugly and antique. I laughed, then immediately regretted it because my ribs protested. Avery pointed at me, no laughing. You made the joke. You should have admired it silently. I leaned back carefully. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Avery reached for it before I could. Her face changed. What? I asked. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she turned the screen toward me. It was a message from an unknown number. A video. The preview showed our company's design lab. My stomach dropped. Avery opened it. The footage was dark and shaky. Someone was inside the lab after hours. They moved between workstations, opening drawers, photographing prototype boards, copying files from a computer. Then the camera turned briefly. A man's face appeared. One of our junior engineers. Caleb. The video ended. A message appeared beneath it. Vanessa says if you won't marry her, your company can burn instead. For a moment, I simply stared. Then another message arrived. You have until noon tomorrow. Announce the engagement correction or the final design files go public. Avery's eyes became very calm. Too calm. I slowly sat up, ignoring the pain. She got someone inside. Avery stood. I'll call Dad. I'll call David. She looked at me. You are injured. My company is being attacked. You are injured and your company is being attacked. I took my phone from her hand. Avery. She stared at me. I have to handle this part. For a moment, I thought she would argue. Then she nodded once. Fine. I blinked, fine. Yes, she picked up her own phone. You handle your company. I'll handle the part where someone threatened my husband while he was medically advised to rest. That sounds like the same thing. It is not. What is it then? She smiled. Motivation. I watched her walk toward the study, already calling her father. For the first time that day, I felt something other than exhaustion. Not fear. Not anger. Focus. Vanessa had moved from public humiliation, to legal threats to family manipulation to corporate sabotage. She believed pressure would make me fold. She believed Avery could not fight every battle. Maybe she was right. Avery could not fight every battle. But she had taught me something important. I did not have to fight alone. I called David. He answered on the first ring. "Sir." "Lock down the servers, revoke Caleb's access, pull every security log from the last 72 hours, contact legal and our cyber team." David's voice changed immediately. "On it." "And David." "Yes, sir." "Do not call the police yet." A pause. "Sir." I looked toward the study where Avery's voice was low and sharp. "Vanessa wants us scared before noon," I said. "Let's give her confidence instead." David was quiet for a second. Then he said, "You have a plan." I looked at the frozen frame of Caleb stealing from my lab. My ribs hurt. My jaw throbbed. My family had betrayed me, and Vanessa Hale had just made the worst decision of her life. "Yes," I said, "I do." Because people like Vanessa always forgot one thing. A trap worked best when the animal thought it was bait. And tomorrow, I was going to let her believe she had won. Just long enough for Avery and me to close the cage. By 8 the next morning, Vanessa Hale thought she had won. That was the first mistake. The second mistake was believing I would be too injured, too ashamed, or too emotionally exhausted to think clearly. The third mistake was forgetting my wife. Avery had fallen asleep beside me sometime after 3 in the morning, still holding her phone in one hand like she was prepared to wake up and declare war before breakfast. I woke before her, ribs aching every time I breathed too deeply, jaw sore, shoulders stiff. For a few seconds, I just lay there and stared at the ceiling. There had been a time in my life when betrayal shocked me. Not anymore. My family selling me to Vanessa hurt, yes. My father hitting me hurt. My mother crying on camera hurt more than I wanted to admit, but none of it surprised me. That was the worst part. The pain was old enough to have furniture. I carefully turned my head. Avery was asleep on her side, dark hair spilling across the pillow, brows faintly drawn together like she was still angry in her dreams. There was a tiny scrape across one knuckle from throwing Vanessa's security guard into the champagne tower. I reached out and touched her hand. Her eyes opened immediately. "Who do I need to hit?" Despite everything, I laughed. Then I winced because my ribs punished me for it. Avery sat up at once. "You're not allowed to laugh. You opened your eyes and threatened violence. Because I am efficient. You're also terrifying before coffee. I am terrifying after coffee too, just faster." I smiled. She leaned over and carefully inspected my face. "Your jaw looks worse." "Good, maybe it'll make me look rugged." "It makes you look like someone who did not call his wife soon enough." That is oddly specific. It is a very common condition in stubborn husbands. I caught her hand before she could poke my forehead. "I have a plan." Her eyes narrowed. "That sentence has caused problems before. This one is better." "Does it involve resting?" "No." "Then I already dislike it." I sat up slowly. Pain pulled at my ribs sharp enough that I had to pause. Avery's expression changed immediately, all teasing gone. "Girl." "I'm okay." "No, you are functional. There's a difference." I looked at her. There are stolen design files, an inside trader, a blackmail deadline, and a woman trying to force me into marriage by burning down everything I built. Avery was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Fine, tell me the plan." I knew that tone. It meant she was going to listen. It did not mean she was going to obey. I reached for my tablet on the bedside table and opened the security file David had sent overnight. We traced Caleb's access. He copied a folder labeled Final Competition Submission. Avery's eyes sharpened. You said your actual final files were secure. They are. She looked at me. I smiled faintly. The folder he copied was bait. For the first time since waking up, Avery's mouth curved. You set a trap before Vanessa even sent the threat. I've had trust issues since middle school. Healthy. Useful. She leaned closer as I opened the folder log. What was in it? A convincing but incomplete version of our prototype designs. Enough to look valuable, but every important structural element is wrong. If anyone tries to manufacture from it, the product fails stress testing within 48 hours. Avery stared at me. Then she kissed my cheek. Very gently. What was that for? For being devious. I thought you liked me noble. I like you alive, devious helps. I scrolled to another file. There's more. The folder had embedded tracking markers. If the files get uploaded, opened, edited, transferred, or printed, we'll know where. Her expression turned approving. Good husband. I sighed. You really are training me. You are improving. Before I could answer, my phone rang. David. I put him on speaker. Sir, he said, sounding like he had swallowed 12 cups of coffee and a lightning bolt. Caleb just entered the building. Avery sat straighter. I glanced at the time. 8:11 a.m. Vanessa's deadline was noon. She sent him back, I said. David lowered his voice. He looks nervous. Security has eyes on him. Do you want us to stop him? No. Avery looked at me. I continued, let him go where he wants. Record everything. Don't confront him unless he tries to access a live server. David hesitated, and if he runs? Let him. Sir. If Vanessa has him on a leash, I want to see where the leash leads. There was a brief silence. Then David said, understood. I ended the call. Avery got out of bed. I watched her head toward the closet. I thought you agreed to the plan. I did. Then, why are you choosing shoes that look like they could damage concrete? She glanced back. Because I agreed to the plan, not to staying home. Avery. Girl. You heard the doctor. I also heard Vanessa threaten you. She threatened my company. She threatened my husband through his company. I am choosing not to respect the distinction. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Arguing with Avery was like trying to stop a storm by criticizing the clouds. She emerged from the closet in black pants, a cream blouse, and a fitted blazer. Her hair was tied back, no jewelry except her wedding ring. That was how I knew she was serious. When Avery dressed simply, it meant she planned to move quickly. Possibly through people. I stood slowly. She immediately pointed at me. You are not driving. I didn't say anything. You thought it loudly. I have been falsely accused. You have been accurately married. I gave up. The office was too quiet when we arrived. Normally, at this hour, the design floor was alive with noise. Keyboards, machines, coffee grinders, arguments about materials, someone laughing too loudly near the model printers. Today, everyone spoke in whispers. My employees watched me walk in with Avery at my side. Their eyes flicked to my bruised jaw, then to the way Avery hovered half a step closer than usual. Nobody asked questions. That was one of the reasons I respected them. David met us by the elevator. His tie was crooked, hair disheveled, tablet clutched in both hands. Caleb went to Lab 3, he said. He didn't use his badge, he followed Jenna in. Avery's eyes narrowed. Jenna. Senior materials engineer, I said, trustworthy. David swallowed. She looked upset after he spoke to her. I felt my expression change. Show me. We moved into the security room. On the monitor, Caleb stood inside Lab 3 near Jenna's workstation. He was 26, talented, quiet, the kind of employee who always stayed late and volunteered for impossible tasks. I had personally hired him after his previous company collapsed. On screen, he kept glancing toward the doors. Jenna stood with her arms crossed, face pale. The camera audio was faint but clear enough. Caleb said, "Just copy the testing logs. That's all they need." Jenna shook her head. "Are you insane? You don't understand. They know where my sister lives." My stomach tightened. Avery's expression changed. Jenna's voice dropped. "Who?" Caleb ran both hands through his hair. "Hale people, I don't know. Vanessa's assistant contacted me first, then some guy started following my sister after work. They said if I didn't help, she'd get hurt." The room went silent. David whispered, "Oh no." Avery said nothing. But the air around her shifted. Cold. Focused. Dangerous. On screen, Jenna whispered, "Then we go to Earl." Caleb laughed bitterly. "Earl? They said if I told him, they'd release the files and blame me. I'll go to prison. My sister gets hurt. Vanessa gets what she wants anyway." Jenna grabbed his arm. "You need to stop." Caleb pulled away. "I can't." He moved toward the terminal. I turned to David. "Lock Lab 3 exits remotely, but don't make it obvious. Send internal security to the hallway, quietly." David nodded and started typing. Avery looked at me. "He's not the enemy." "No," I said, "but he's still holding the knife." She nodded once. We headed for Lab 3. Every step made my ribs ache, but I ignored it. By the time we reached the hallway, Jenna had blocked Caleb from the terminal. He looked desperate now, shaking, sweating, eyes darting like a trapped animal. I opened the door. Both of them froze. Caleb went white. "Mr. Zahn," he whispered. Jenna immediately stepped back. "Earl, he didn't. I heard," I said. Caleb's face crumpled. He looked younger than he had 5 minutes ago. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry, I didn't know what to do." Avery stepped in behind me and closed the door. Caleb flinched when he saw her. "Smart man." I walked toward him slowly. "You copied files last night." He nodded, trembling. "Yes." "You sent them to Vanessa." "I sent them to an encrypted link. Her assistant sent it." "Did you open the files after?" "No." "Did they?" He swallowed. "I don't know." I turned to David, who had joined us at the doorway. "Any pings from the tracker?" David checked his tablet. His eyes widened. "Yes, 3 opens. One at Hale Capital's office. One at a private residence registered to Vanessa Hale. One," he paused. Avery's voice sharpened. "One where?" David looked up. "An abandoned distribution warehouse outside the city." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Caleb whispered, "That's where they told me to bring the testing logs." Avery's jaw tightened. I looked at Caleb. "When?" "Noon." "Of course. The deadline." Vanessa wanted the engagement correction by noon, but she also had men waiting for the stolen data. She was building 2 traps at once. If I refused publicly, she would leak the files. If I tried to catch her, she would claim Caleb acted alone. And if she got the testing logs, she could make the bait designs look more real. Avery looked at me. I knew what she was thinking, because I was thinking the same thing. We had a location. We had a time. We had a frightened employee who could still help us close the cage. I turned back to Caleb. Your sister, where is she now? At work, I think. I don't know. They sent me a photo of her outside her apartment this morning. Avery pulled out her phone, name and workplace. Caleb stared. Now, she said. He gave her the information with shaking lips. Avery called someone. Not her father. Someone else. Her voice became crisp. Lena, I need a protective pickup. Quiet. Female subject, possible intimidation by hired men. No police markings yet. Send 2 cars. She listened. Yes, now. Then she ended the call. Caleb looked like he might collapse. Who was that? Avery looked at him. Someone competent. His knees nearly gave out. Jenna grabbed his arm. I looked at him carefully. Caleb, I'm going to ask you one question. Think before you answer. He nodded rapidly. Do you want to keep helping Vanessa? No, he said immediately. God, no. Then you're going to do exactly what she asked. His eyes widened. Avery smiled faintly. David muttered, I feel like I know where this is going and I am already stressed. I continued, you'll bring the testing logs to the warehouse at noon. Caleb shook his head. They'll kill me. No, Avery said. He looked at her. She smiled. They'll be busy. At 11:43 a.m., Caleb drove toward the abandoned warehouse with a flash drive in his pocket and a wire beneath his shirt. At 11:44, I sat in a black SUV 2 blocks away, ignoring Avery's glare. You should not be here, she said. I am sitting. You're injured. I am sitting while injured. That is not better. It feels better. No, it feels like stubbornness. Richard Sinclair sat in the front passenger seat, reading updates from his phone with the calm expression of a man reviewing quarterly reports instead of coordinating a criminal takedown. Technically, he said, Earl's presence increases evidentiary continuity. Avery stared at the back of his head. Dad. He did not look up. I said technically, not wisely. I leaned back carefully. Thank you, Richard. You're welcome. Also, my daughter is right. Avery looked smug. I looked out the window. 3 other vehicles were staged nearby. Sinclair security. Real professionals, not the banquet kind who got thrown into champagne. David was with the cyber team in another car, monitoring the tracker and recording the wire. Police had been notified, but were holding back until money changed hands or threats were clearly captured. Avery hated that part. She wanted police there immediately. Richard preferred evidence. I preferred ending this permanently. The warehouse sat at the edge of an industrial district, old walls stained by rain, windows boarded, loading bay half-rusted open. It looked exactly like the kind of place a person chose when they had watched too many crime dramas and learned nothing from them. Caleb's car pulled in. A man in a gray jacket emerged from the side door. Then another. Then a third. Avery's fingers tapped once against her knee. I noticed. Don't. She gave me an innocent look. Don't what? Leap out of the car. I wasn't going to leap. Richard murmured. She was considering it. Avery sighed. Everyone in this family is suddenly very observant. Caleb got out of his car. Through the comms, his breathing sounded ragged. Gray Jacket approached him. You got it. Caleb nodded. Phone. Caleb handed it over. Gray Jacket smashed it on the ground. Avery's eyes went flat. I said we expected that. I still disliked it. Gray Jacket patted Caleb down and found nothing. Because the wire was not in his shirt. It was in the button of his jacket. Avery's people were thorough. Gray Jacket opened the warehouse door and pushed Caleb inside. Our screens shifted to infrared from a drone overhead. Inside, 5 heat signatures. Then 6. Then a 7th appeared from a side office. David's voice crackled through the comms. "We have audio." A woman's voice filled the SUV. "Vanessa." Well, at least one man in Earl's company knows how to follow instructions. My hands curled into fists. Avery noticed immediately and placed her palm over mine. "Not to stop me. To steady me." Caleb's voice shook. "I brought what you wanted. Leave my sister alone." Vanessa laughed softly. "Your sister was never the point. Timothy was." Gray Jacket said, "Flash drive." There was a rustle. Then Vanessa spoke again. "Did he panic?" Caleb hesitated. Vanessa's tone sharpened. "Did Timothy panic?" "He looked worried," Caleb said. "Good answer." Vanessa sighed with satisfaction. "Of course he did. Men like him love pretending to be untouchable until you put pressure on the right wound." Avery's hand tightened on mine. Vanessa continued, "His company is the wound, his wife is the nerve, his family is the infection. All I have to do is press." Richard glanced back at us. His face remained calm, but his eyes were cold. Caleb whispered, "Why are you doing this?" For a moment, Vanessa said nothing. Then her voice changed. Low. Ugly. Honest. "Because he embarrassed me." I felt a chill. "He stood in front of everyone and chose her," Vanessa said. "Do you have any idea what that feels like? Men don't reject me. Families don't reject the Hales. He was supposed to be grateful." Gray Jacket muttered, "Miss Hale, we should finish." "No," she snapped. "He needs to understand." Caleb said carefully, "Understand what?" "That every door in his life opens because someone powerful allows it. His company, his reputation, his marriage, all of it can be taken." Avery smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Got you," she whispered. Vanessa continued, "At noon, he will receive one final message. He will announce that last night was emotional confusion. He will say our engagement stands. He will begin divorce proceedings. If he refuses, we release the files, accuse him of stealing Hale intellectual property, and bury him in lawsuits until Avery Sinclair is married to a ruined man." Richard spoke quietly into his phone. "That should satisfy coercion, blackmail, conspiracy, and trade secret theft." Avery looked at him. "Now." Richard checked the police update. "Almost." Inside, Caleb said, "And if he still refuses?" Vanessa's voice became soft. "Then we take him somewhere quiet and have the conversation in person." The SUV went silent. Avery opened the door. Richard said, "Now." That was the only permission she needed. She was out of the SUV before I could grab her wrist. I swore and started to follow. Pain stabbed through my ribs. Richard turned back. "Earl." "She's going in." "Yes," he said, opening his own door. "And if you collapse before reaching the entrance, she will blame me." That was fair. Still, I got out. The warehouse door exploded inward. Not from a battering ram. From Avery's boot. It slammed open so hard it struck Gray Jacket in the shoulder and sent him stumbling sideways. Vanessa spun around. For one glorious second, her face was pure disbelief. Avery stepped through the doorway like vengeance in tailored black. "Hello, Vanessa." Vanessa's mouth opened. No sound came out. Then all hell broke loose. One of the men rushed Avery from the left. She ducked under his swing, drove her elbow into his ribs, and swept his leg. He hit the concrete hard. Another came from behind. She turned, caught his wrist, and used his momentum to throw him into a stack of empty pallets. The pallets collapsed in a wooden avalanche. Caleb dove behind a forklift. Smart man again. Gray jacket reached inside his coat. Avery saw it. So did I. My body moved before my brain approved. I grabbed a metal pipe leaning by the entrance and slammed it into Gray Jacket's forearm. He shouted, dropping what looked like a collapsible baton. Pain shot through my ribs from the motion, bright and brutal. Avery turned toward me, furious. You are supposed to be sitting. I got bored. You have bruised ribs. He had a weapon. I had him. Gray Jacket tried to get up. Avery kicked him back down without looking. Stay, she snapped. He stayed. Unfortunately, the fifth man had circled behind me. I only saw him because Vanessa's eyes flicked over my shoulder. I turned too slowly. He slammed into me. We crashed against a metal shelf. Pain tore through my side. My vision flashed white. The man grabbed my collar and drove his fist toward my face. I blocked the first punch. The second caught my cheek. The third never landed. Avery grabbed him by the back of his jacket and yanked him off me with such force that he stumbled backward 3 steps. He swung at her. She bent aside, struck his throat with the edge of her hand, not hard enough to crush, hard enough to stun, and followed with a knee to his stomach. He folded. She shoved him face first onto a folding table. The table collapsed. Avery turned to me. Her face was terrifying. Car now. I held up one hand. I'm fine. You are not fine. You are upright out of spite. That's still upright. She opened her mouth. Then Vanessa grabbed Caleb. A small silver blade flashed in her hand. Everything stopped. Vanessa stood behind him, one arm hooked around his throat, the blade pressed near his side. Her hair had come loose. Her white dress was stained with warehouse dust. Her eyes were wild. Back off, she screamed. Avery went still. Very still. I had seen her angry. I had seen her amused. I had seen her ready to fight. This was different. This was the calm before something irreversible. Caleb trembled. Miss Hale, please, shut up, Vanessa shrieked. Her gaze snapped to me. You did this. You made me do this. I stared at her. No, Vanessa, you brought a knife to your own crime scene. Her lips curled, still making jokes. I'm not joking. Avery's voice cut in, quiet and cold. Let him go. Vanessa laughed, breathless and broken. Or what? You'll hit me in front of everyone. Go ahead. Hit the poor, desperate woman your husband abandoned. The police lights flashed outside through the cracked windows. Red. Blue. Red. Blue. Vanessa saw them. Her face collapsed. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Avery stepped forward. Vanessa tightened her hold on Caleb. Don't. Avery stopped. Vanessa, she said, voice suddenly softer, look at me. Vanessa's eyes darted toward her. You've lost, Avery said, but you can decide how badly. Vanessa shook her head, tears spilling now. He was supposed to marry me. He was never yours. He should have been. No, Avery said. You wanted him because he chose someone else. That is not love, that is hunger. Vanessa's hand shook. The blade trembled. Caleb squeezed his eyes shut. I took half a step to the side. Vanessa noticed. Don't move. I froze. Avery's gaze flicked to mine once. Only once. But I understood. She was going to move. And I needed to trust her. Avery lifted both hands slowly. All right, she said, I won't come closer. Vanessa's breathing hitched. Avery's eyes softened just enough to keep her watching. You're embarrassed, you're angry. You think if you let go now, everyone will see you failed. Vanessa sobbed, "Shut up." "But they already know," Avery said gently. "So now the only question is whether they see you stop." For 1 second it seemed to work. Vanessa's grip loosened. Only slightly. "Enough." Avery moved. She did not run straight at Vanessa. She stepped sideways, hooked her foot under a loose length of plastic strapping on the floor, and kicked it hard. The strip snapped across Vanessa's ankle. Vanessa startled and looked down. At the same moment, Caleb dropped his weight. Avery crossed the distance in a blur. She caught Vanessa's wrist, twisted the knife away, and drove her shoulder into Vanessa's chest. Vanessa hit the floor on her back, the blade skidding across the concrete. Avery kicked it away. Police flooded through the doors. Vanessa screamed and thrashed as officers restrained her. "You can't do this to me. I'm Vanessa Hale. My father will ruin you." Avery stood over her, breathing hard, hair escaping its tie. "No," she said. "Your father will hire lawyers. There's a difference." Vanessa twisted her head toward me. Her eyes were full of hatred. "You chose wrong," she spat. I looked at Avery, then back at Vanessa. "For once in my life," I said, "I chose exactly right." Vanessa screamed again as they pulled her up. The sound echoed through the warehouse until the officers dragged her outside. Then suddenly, everything felt quiet. Too quiet. Caleb sat on the floor, shaking. Jenna, who had come with security despite being told not to, rushed in and knelt beside him. David stood near the doorway, pale but recording everything. Richard spoke with the police like this was a board meeting with handcuffs. Avery turned toward me. I knew that look. I tried to stand straighter. Bad idea. The pain hit all at once. My knees buckled. Avery caught me before I fell. Her arms wrapped around me carefully, strong and steady. "I told you to stay in the car," she said. Her voice shook. Only a little. But I heard it. I leaned into her because I was suddenly too tired to pretend I was fine. "I know. You got hit again. I noticed. You used a pipe. It was nearby. You are impossible. So I've been told." She pulled back enough to look at me. Her eyes were bright with anger and fear. That hurt worse than my ribs. "I'm sorry," I whispered. Her expression cracked. Then she pressed her forehead gently against mine. "You don't get to scare me like that." "I'll try not to." "No, you will do more than try." I smiled weakly. "Yes, ma'am." She exhaled, half laugh, half sob. Then Richard appeared beside us. "Ambulance is outside." "I don't need." Avery turned her head slowly. I stopped speaking. Richard nodded, wise. By sunset, Vanessa Hale was in custody. Caleb's sister was safe. The stolen files, the blackmail messages, the warehouse audio, the forged contract, the live stream, and Vanessa's confession had all been secured. The internet, which had spent the morning calling me a heartless husband, spent the evening editing clips of Avery kicking open the warehouse door. Someone added dramatic music. David sent it to me. Avery took my phone away before I could laugh and injure myself again. I spent the night in the hospital for observation because my wife, my doctor, my father-in-law, Mrs. Gable, David, and possibly half my company had joined forces against me. Marriage, apparently, was not a democracy during medical emergencies. Avery sat beside my bed, arms crossed, still in her dusty clothes. "You should go home and shower," I said. "No. You look tired." "So do you." "I'm the patient." "Then behave like one." I looked at her. She looked back. I lost. Around 9, there was a soft knock on the hospital room door. Avery stood immediately. The door opened. Mia stepped in. Her eyes were red. Her face was pale. She held a small paper bag from the hospital cafe. Avery did not move from beside my bed. Mia noticed. Good. I'm not here to cause trouble, Mia said quietly. Avery's expression did not soften. That remains to be seen. Mia swallowed. I sighed, what do you want? She looked at me, and for once there was no accusation in her face. Only shame. I watched the warehouse video, she said, and the live stream replay. I said nothing. She gripped the paper bag tighter. Mom is saying Vanessa manipulated everyone. Dad is saying he was protecting the company. They're both pretending they didn't know how bad it was. Avery gave a cold smile. Convenient. Mia nodded slowly. I know. That surprised me. She looked down. I knew about the banquet. I knew they wanted you to accept Vanessa publicly. I didn't know about the forged contract or the pregnancy lie, but I knew enough. Her voice broke. And I still told you not to bring Avery. Avery's jaw tightened. Mia looked at her. I'm sorry. Avery said nothing. Mia turned back to me. I'm sorry, Earl. The words landed strangely. I had imagined hearing them from my family for years. In my imagination, apologies felt clean, like rain, like doors opening, like some old wound finally closing. In reality, it just felt heavy. Because an apology did not erase the years before it. It only acknowledged they had happened. I looked at my sister for a long moment. Why are you really here? She flinched, but she answered. Dad wants me to convince you not to press charges against him for assault. Mom wants me to ask Avery to show mercy to Vanessa because Gregory Hale is threatening to drag the Zahn name down with him. I laughed once. Avery's hand immediately landed on my shoulder. No laughing. I grimaced, sorry. Mia's eyes filled again. I'm not asking for them. Then what are you asking? She took a shaky breath. I'm asking if there is any way I can stop being like them. That silence was different. Avery looked at me. She did not answer for me. She never did when it mattered. I studied Mia. The sister who had looked away. The sister who had warned me not to bring my wife, not because she wanted to protect me, but because she wanted the plan to go smoothly. The sister who had finally seen the machine turn its teeth toward her. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. I was too tired to decide. So I told the truth. I don't know. Mia nodded, tears sliding down her face. That's fair. I looked toward the window. City lights reflected against the glass. If you want to stop being like them, I said, stop carrying their messages. She froze. Stop asking victims to make peace because guilty people are uncomfortable. Her face crumpled. And stop calling betrayal family loyalty. For a moment she couldn't speak. Then she nodded. I will. Avery finally spoke. If you mean that, prove it quietly. Don't make Timothy responsible for your redemption. Mia looked at her. Then nodded again. I understand. She placed the paper bag on the side table. Its soup, hospital food seemed terrible. Mrs. Gable would have approved. Mia turned to leave. At the door she paused. Girl. I looked at her. Dad is scared. I smiled faintly. He should be. She left. Avery waited until the door closed. Then she sat back down. What are you thinking? She asked. I looked at the paper bag. Soup seems to be everyone's solution to trauma. It's practical. I'm thinking, I said slowly, that Mia might actually regret it. Avery nodded. Maybe. But you don't trust her. No. Neither do I. Good. I turned my head toward her. Good. You can forgive someone without handing them another knife. I smiled faintly. You always make revenge sound emotionally healthy. I am a balanced woman. You threw a man into a champagne tower. He was unbalanced first. I closed my eyes, exhaustion finally pulling at me. Avery's hand found mine. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said softly, "It's not over." I opened my eyes. No. Vanessa was in custody. Caleb was safe. The files were protected. But Gregory Hale was still out there. My parents were still scrambling to save themselves. And forged contracts did not appear without lawyers, accountants, assistants, and cowards willing to look away. Vanessa had been the blade. But someone had sharpened her. Avery leaned closer. "Sleep," she said. "You just said it's not over. It won't be over faster if you pass out from stubbornness." I considered arguing. Then decided I liked being alive. "Fine." She smiled. "Good husband." I squeezed her hand. As sleep dragged me under, I heard her phone buzz. Then another buzz. Then another. Avery did not move, but I felt her body tense beside me. I opened one eye. "What is it?" She looked at the screen. Her face went cold. Gregory Hale just filed a lawsuit. I sighed. For what? Her smile returned. Sharp. Dangerous. According to him, you stole Vanessa's intellectual property, assaulted his employees, ruined his daughter's reputation, and conspired with me to destroy the Hale family. I stared at her. Then I closed my eye again. "Wake me when we countersue." Avery kissed my knuckles. Already drafting. And just like that, I fell asleep smiling. Because for the first time in my life, someone else was standing guard at the door. And God help anyone stupid enough to try coming through it.